since roughly 1932, when they overwhelmingly voted for Franklin Delano Roosevelt for president. By 1932. By 1944, I think, I'd have to check my notes, 90% of American Jews voted for Roosevelt. And that pattern has been the same right up until today. In the last presidential election, about 80% of American Jews voted for Barack Obama, which was a much higher percentage than even Latinos who voted for Barack Obama. Among Latinos, it was about 63%. And when you factor in income, Jews being the richest ethno-religious group in the United States, and Latinos being among the poorest, common sense would tell you, or your intuitions would tell you, Jews should be voting overwhelmingly Republican. But it ain't so. Notwithstanding the fact that they are the richest ethno-religious group in the United States, they still vote Democratic, more so than, as I said, Latinos. And being liberal in the current political environment, it basically means believing in the rule of law, believing in equality under the law, believing in diplomacy, not force. And Jews have had a very hard time, especially in recent years. They've had a very hard time reconciling their liberal tenets, their liberal beliefs, with the policies and the conduct of the State of Israel. The big problem is now Jews know too much. And that's in particular the problem for the younger generation of Jews, the college-age generation, which all the Jewish organizations are in a state of panic over, because all the polls show that they are losing that generation of college graduates or college students. And the reason is perfectly obvious. College campuses tend to be havens of liberal thought and outlook in the United States. Even here, you walk into the cafeteria and you have a little bit of everything. It's very, as they say, multicultural. It's not just frankfurters and French fries and hamburgers. It reflects a kind of cultural tolerance. In fact, it's so tolerant here that my two Palestinian friends who I had lunch with, one of them made a beeline for the kosher section of the restaurant. I told him he was breaking the cultural boycott of Israel, and he was willing to suffer the consequences if he had the option of consuming kosher food. So, if you're a liberal, you're in a college campus, you're Jewish, do you really want to defend Israel dropping white phosphorus on Al-Quds Hospital in Gaza during the 2008-2009 invasion? Do you really want to defend Israel dropping millions of cluster bomblets on South Lebanon during the 2006 Israeli assault on Lebanon? You don't want to do it. You may not come out attacking Israel, but you're not going to stand up and defend it. It's just not what Jews do. Now, maybe Rush Limbaugh would do it. Maybe Sean Hannity would do it. Maybe Sarah Palin would do it, but most Jews don't do that. White phosphorus, hospital, no. There's something wrong there. And so there have been quite a number of what you might call spectacle defections by prominent Jews who represent not so much themselves, but their age cohort and also their milieu. So you had a fairly spectacular case, I guess it's now more than a year ago, of Peter Beinart, the former editor of the New Republic, an Orthodox Jew, a fanatical supporter of Israel, and then wrote a major article in the New York Review of Books, basically saying, I'm opting out. And then you had more recently the case of the editor of the very influential New Yorker magazine, David Remnick, exposing his inner angst over the Israeli occupation. And more broadly, you can say that there has been a relative decline in U.S. power, relative decline in U.S. power, and the U.S. being the chief obstacle to resolving the conflict, that is also a significant development. There are many other aspects. Time doesn't allow me to go into them, but certainly that's enough, as it were, food for thought, that prospects have changed. And they've changed maybe not radically, but certainly one can say significantly. And so within this new historical context, this new political context, there's a chance to do something. There's a chance to actually achieve something. And the first question is, obviously, achieve what? What should be our goal? And as all of you must know, sitting in this room, for every 2 people who gather together, there are 3 goals proposed. And that's unfortunately one of the problems, the fragmentation, which is preventing a concentration of energy such that we become a real political force. We cannot become a real political force for change and for good so long as we are so fragmented and are transmitting so many contrary messages to a public that's willing to listen. They're willing now to listen. The problem is they're not clear on what they should be doing or what they should be supporting. So what should be our goal? And here, I found it personally of some use. Several years back, I decided, well, let me hear what the Mahatma had to say on the subject. Mr. Gandhi.